What's up, everybody? This is Jen coming at you on my downtime. I hope you're all having a great day. I'm making a video response to my old reteacher on YouTube, and yeah, I'm personally not a Christian, but I not only appreciate your honesty and ability to be candid about your personal experience with how you used to view Christianity and how you now view your spirituality and your relationship with God today. I got something from that. I myself am a pagan. I consider myself to be an eclectic pagan. First I started out on the Wiccan path because Wicca is obviously a branch of paganism, but a more modern branch of paganism. And when I come into my 30s, I'm 31 years of age now, I found what anybody else normally would find in their time of life when you come of age, when you arrive to a certain age or a certain point in your life when things are a little bit more settled down, maybe a little bit more established, and because I was starting to become more settled down and more established in who I am as a person and in my spiritual life, or rather the spiritual aspect of my life, I wanted to come back home, quote unquote, like really get back to my roots as, who I really am, essentially, which is a pagan. There were certain beliefs that I had, and it is said that every eclectic pagan and every Wiccan has their own personal path. Not everything with us is set in stone. Not everything is as extreme as congregating and every person within the congregation believes exactly in the same thing. That's not how we work. However, a lot of us do have a habit of setting things in stone for ourselves. Like, we kind of come up with our own quote-unquote systems, if you will, and one of the things that I was extreme on was the types of deities that I would work with. And I've noticed that the more that I grow and the more that I evolve as the person and the spirit I am, the more things start to change. My life starts to change. I start to change. So, with knowing that, I have to embrace that change and allow that to occur and to happen. There are things, set ways that I had when I began on my path a long time ago. I started legitimately studying my path when I was 15 years of age. That's when I picked up my first metaphysical book. And I had a set way about me. Most of what I have, set for myself spiritually still is set in its way, but I'm learning how to become more flexible with it. Things about different beliefs that I would have, different things that I would believe in are starting to change. And with that change, really should change the way that I love the people around me, and I have to allow that to change. Recently, I had gone through kind of a battle. My brother and I have both been going through a battle, not with each other, but we've both been going through a battle with things. And because of that, I had learned, just as a result of that, I had learned that the way that I view myself and my interaction with him and the way that I view him needs to change. I guess if you want to put it in a light way, there needs to be an attitude adjustment, and I think that, that attitude adjustment needs to more so happen on my end than his. And I will admit that. I have no shame in admitting it. There are things that I may not necessarily follow in my life and as a path, but I must also at the same time accept the fact that, you know, his decisions and how he lives his life may be different from my decisions and how I live my life. I need to learn how to become a lot less rigid on my, you know, relationship with him, and you know, so that him and I can get along. Yeah, that was a sneeze. Bless you, Mom. But I've noticed that, like, because of my spiritual views that I would always have up until this point, and they're starting to change recently, I hadn't been very accepting of, you know, the choices that my brother would make and how he decides to live his life, which I don't believe is right of me. Who the hell am I to come up here and be self-righteous and say that just because I believe something is right or isn't right, it should be right or not right for him. Our paths are obviously separate, just like I understand, you know, metaphysics as a study. You know, you have your spiritual side of it, and you also have your physics side of it. Yes, him and I share the same DNA, we share the same features, we even share a lot of personality traits, but on a spiritual level, him and I are almost completely different. And I recognized and realized that even though I have the path that I have specifically, that I laid out for myself, and also is laid out for me, doesn't necessarily mean that his is going to be the same, and that I can totally accept. But the thing that I had woken up to recently was the fact that your spiritual life, well, actually I didn't just wake up to that, but I realized again how it plays a part in and a role in my life and his life. I recognize that even though we share the same DNA, we have the same features, sometimes most of the time we think the same, even though I used to believe we didn't. We do think the same a lot of the time, so any disagreements that we may have had during that time were obviously just misunderstandings, not things that actually define us as brother and sister. And this, you know, our spiritual paths, the way that we are, him and I, may be completely different, and that's going to play a role in our lives and the way that we think and our personalities. And like I said, although, you know, physically we share a lot of the same attributes, there are going to be differences, and those differences really should not be argued over. Nobody is any more right than the next person. You know, there are probably things that I believe in that he may disagree with, and that's okay. I can accept that. You know, there are things that he believes in that I kind of disagree with, and that's okay. You know, that should always be acceptable. You know, and what this really boils down to is unconditional love. You know, being able to love somebody despite the differences, not just tolerate them. Because to tolerate a person, whether, you know, it's a family member or anybody else, is to say, okay, we have differing opinions or different ways, but you know, I'll tolerate that. Well, that's not the case, and it should never be the case, especially when you're dealing with family. There has to be an unconditional love there somewhere. There has to be an acceptance, a real embrace and acceptance. And, you know, since my brother and I have been dealing with things together on a spiritual level, it's brought us closer, despite the fact that him and I have spiritual differences. Like, he has his own path and his way that he views things. I have my own path and the way that I view things. Despite those differences, we'd recently had to come together on more than one occasion to resolve a problem. And I think that, you know, the approach that him and I have been taking on this has brought us closer together. And it's also taught me and reminded me that I need to be more open-minded and accepting of the fact that there are going to be differences. And he may not always be right, I may not always be right, but through all of that, and when it comes down to the bottom of it, there's only unconditional love. There are no differences, there's just love. Nobody's right, nobody's wrong, there's no guilt. It's like a way of freeing yourself, from an internal prison, as you had put it in your video. You felt like your religion had become this abusive parent, and those are the words that you used. Something that kind of looks down on you and says, no, you shouldn't do this, no, you shouldn't do that, because this is exactly how it's supposed to go. It's set in this certain way. Well, I kind of view it differently in my personal situation, because I'm the person who created the way that I approach my path. So I guess according to the way that you put it, I was my own abusive parent. And my judging somebody else was a way of me indirectly judging myself. And it's not, I really don't believe that I was judging myself because I was inhibiting myself, and I approach my spirituality in an extremist way. I think the reason why I was kind of looking down on myself, so to speak, is because it's about time that I change. This is a time for change. And like I said earlier in this video, I have basically come of age. I'm at a certain point in my life where things are different now. They're not the way that they used to be, and I need to learn how to change with them. It's not easy for me as a Cancerian, as being the astrological sign of Cancer. We don't really accept change very well. We're very rigid, we're very conservative. The things that, we have set up for ourselves are not just what we set up for ourselves and the way that we practice things and view things. They're also a security blanket. It's like setting up a security blanket for yourself. And when it comes to your heart, the matters of the heart, your spirituality, your family, your loved ones, you want that security blanket. And the truth of the matter is that you have to get beyond that security blanket in order to truly embrace the ones that you love. Your set ways are going to change as you grow and you evolve. So you have to embrace that. This way you're able to embrace your loved ones without any kind of pretense, without rigidity, without believing that your ways are more right than theirs. Because the truth of the matter is that, and I've been saying this for a long time, as long as we're on Earth, we're not done learning. Things are always going to change. As long as we exist within the universe as a spirit, as an energy, things are always going to evolve and change. And we just have to accept the fact that things do change, and maybe we may be right, or like, let's say, let's narrow it down a little bit. Let's say that, a spiritual belief or religious belief that you have at one point in your life may have been right at that time, but it may not exactly be right in another situation, or the older you get. Things are always going to change. And like I said, as the astrological sign of Cancer, I can be very conservative and rigid because I crave security. That, having things set in stone brings me a sense of security. And I have to learn how to break through that, because not only am I not just my sun sign, I'm an entire natal chart, but I'm also going to be growing, and nothing is going to stop that. Despite how much security I crave in my life, despite how much I want to think I'm right in something that I believe, I have to break away from those chains of security in order to secure something else. You know what I mean? Like, it's tough to explain, but I have been going through that lately. I have been going through a lot of changes in my spiritual life too, and I can't browbeat myself over it. I cannot say that I'm any less of a spiritual person as I always was. I just need to learn how to break free from the confines that I used to believe were liberating. What I used to believe were my beliefs and my set ways. I have to break out of those confines to grow and to also accept my loved ones and to continue to love them unconditionally. There have been a lot of stories about people, and I'm not really saying that Christianity or paganism fall into this category, but I've noticed what you've described in your behavior toward your family in the past as being described as like cult behavior. Like when you join a cult, you're away from your family. You cast your family away for the sake of your beliefs, for the sake of your confines, for the sake of what you believe is right. And it goes back to what I had said earlier in this video pertaining to me and my situation. Even though I believed that I was right at some point, because what I believed was right at some point doesn't make it right all the time. And that's what I have to realize so that I can get along better with my loved ones. Anyway, I wanted to go ahead and shoot this video response because what came out of you was very heartfelt, and it couldn't have come at a better time because recently I've been going through a lot of changes, and I've realized that I'm no longer right, and that there are going to be new things that I'm going to grow into, learn about, and embrace. And as far as, that affecting my relationship with my family goes, well, my mom's always been supportive of anything that I've done my entire life. That right there is unconditional love. My brother might question me at first, but he catches on as soon as I explain to him, and then he understands, whether he may or may not agree with me. It's still unconditional love, and that needs to keep going. It does. It needs to keep going. I think that the best way that we can get along more and argue less with our families is to accept the fact that we need to be more flexible in our spiritual growth, no matter what path we're on, no matter what religion we consider ourselves to be a part of. That will always take precedent when you grow and you come of age. We come of age more than just once in our lifetimes. There are things that we grow into or that we grow out of, and that's going to continue as long as there is life in us, and there will always be life in us as long as we have a spirit or energy. Yeah, this is definitely a deep conversation. Yeah. So, thank you for making your video. I really do appreciate it, because I didn't know how else to let this off my chest. There was a lot of hurt that I was carrying inside of me, about differences that I've recently had with my brother, and I know that it's not necessarily always us that starts these or catapults these disagreements. Sometimes it's things outside of that need to change. So yeah, I'm just gonna leave it at that and post this as a video response. Hope that you accept it, and you have a great day. Take care.